personal family issues and making the decisions she's made, but she's a get-it-done lady. And look, any woman, I try and tell every woman, because of the amount of woman, when crimes are committed against women, any woman that's willing to defend herself, and this lady is showing, basically out hunting. I mean, I got to tell you something. That says a lot. I mean, how many women can go out and hunt and got a moose and cut it up? I mean,
that's because you're from Montana.
Yeah, see, that really speaks to me. but she does. She has a quality that's real versus the false. I guess that's what I'm
right. And that is something that a lot of people have been screaming about lately, this unease with what's been happening over the last 8 years and this need to get someone in there who just understands what's going on. And, there they are on stage holding a baby, and, they seem like, an American family. And it was just refreshing. So, I'm going to look forward to this campaign. West of the Rockies, Roger in Phoenix, Arizona, you're on the air. Hi there.
Hi, gentlemen.
Yeah.
Great show tonight. I got to redirect the thought real quick, though. I was just going to say that socialism is not what's ever made this country great, and that's not the kind of change I want to see coming up this election. Anyway, I have a question for Steve, and then I'll just hang up and hear your answer. As some of us who have read the roadmap through the years recall that Jesus said that all these things must come to pass and we're to fear not. And, if you read the end of the book, he wins. And since life is so temporal on this side, but we all live forever, I'm not sure that I understand the survival mode or the survival need. And I'll just hang up and listen, guys. Thanks very much.
Okay,
that's a great question. I'll give you from God's perspective. He says his people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. When God warned Noah, it was a survival raft, albeit a large one, that he put him into. When God warned Joseph of the coming famine, it was Joseph's obedience and responding to God that provided basically not only the Hebrews food, but the Egyptians. There is no place in the Bible where faith is told to simply just believe and do nothing. I'll give you the best example I know. When Jesus was born, obviously a lot of people wanted to kill him. So the three magi come and provide Jesus with gold, frankincense, and myrrh, and most people are not putting two and two together. That's what Jesus and his parents, his mother, and Joseph lived on in Egypt for a number of years. It's not wrong to prepare. We have become a society that expects everyone to do everything for us, and we've lost accountability and personal responsibility. The Bible is very succinct on the fact that we are to basically take God's warnings, his admonitions, and prepare. And that's why I'm telling everybody the first and most important thing, in my opinion, facing the uncertain future and the very events that are spiraling out of control is obviously I want to be on the winning side, and I believe that the winning side is already declared in the Bible.
Let's go to Denver, Colorado. You are on the air with Steve Quayle. Hi there.
Hello, George.
Yeah.
Steve, how you doing?
Good.
Good. I just had a question about the hoaxed alien invasion. Okay, in World War II, we had the internment camps for the Japanese. Now, if suddenly there were, a hoaxed alien invasion and they were deemed the bad guys, what do you imagine would happen to, say, groups like MUFON or this show or UFO researchers if suddenly were potentially viewed as terrorists?
Well, that's a great question. I think, obviously, if you broaden the definition of terrorism, you can arrest and ultimately incarcerate whoever you want to. And I think that if you look at all of the plans, the thing that breaks my heart about this country is that if you notice since 9/11, we've turned into, and these are my words and I don't apologize for them, but we've turned into a macro version of the Third Reich because of all of the control mechanisms that are being put into place. And when I see how peaceful protesters are treated at either the Democratic National Convention or the Republican, and I see the attitude of the militarization of police, and I see all of the surveillance going into effect, you got to ask yourself this: what do control and freedom have in common? And the answer is nothing. Control is designed to take away our freedom. So to answer the question, I believe that those who are pointing out the truth ultimately become enemies of the state.
Kim, driving in Nebraska, your turn on Coast to Coast. Kim, go ahead.
Hey, you mentioned about the giants, how much larger they were than the human women, and that they tear the women apart, taking the babies.
Yep.
Well, how are they conceived?
How are they conceived? Well, one of the things and that's a good point, one of the things that people don't realize is that the angels that were the fathers of the baby can basically take on human form. The bottom line is Jesus said the devil himself can present himself as an angel of light. So while they can size themselves accordingly to produce children, the bottom line is the acceleration of the supernatural element with the human DNA causes the baby to grow, and that's evidently what takes place.
Okay, thank you. One or two more, and we're out of time, Stephen. Ian in Toronto, you are California. You are on the air with us. Hi, Ian.
Hello there.
Yeah.
You were talking about the Illuminati, and I was wondering, who are these evil men and women? We don't know who they are. Is there 200 or 300 of them, and can they be arrested because they're traitors to the human race?
One more time.
You were talking about the Illuminati?
Mm-hmm.
Who are these men and women? Because nobody seems to know who they really are. Are they the same people that the Bilderbergers are? Are they one and the same? I mean, who are they? Because nobody knows who they are.
I would say they're above most people that we would think who they are. We think of part of the Illuminati, big bankers and people like that, but, I think they're even above that. People's names that most people wouldn't even recognize. Stephen?
Well, absolutely. The real puppet masters are behind the scene.
They don't want the publicity.
Right. These are guys that most people wouldn't even know their name. Now, obviously, the international bankers are the ones that fund a lot of this, but John Coleman wrote a book one time. Dr. John Coleman wrote a book called The Committee of 300. But when you're talking about the Bilderbergers and the world's elite, you're talking about captains of industry. And when you're talking about the super wealthy, they use their money for power. I once spoke to one of their poster children, and he told me it's not the money, Steve, it's the power, it's the control, it's the ability to decide who lives, who dies. I said, so basically you guys all want to be God, right? And he said, no, Steve, basically we are God. And I said, well, I got news for you. The real God will probably challenge you on that issue.
Foster in West Palm Beach, Florida. Take it away, Foster, really quickly.
Yes, George, love your show.
Thanks.
And Steve, I appreciate what you do on the front line. I want to know with World War III that's in the making here, and with the presidential election, which person who's running for president is going to be the one in office when all of this occurs? Because I feel that the secret societies are the ones who basically are picking, you know what I mean, picking the person, for president. And have you ever been threatened before?
Oh,
all right, Stephen, 1 minute to go.
Absolutely, I've been threatened. Absolutely. I don't believe that we have a real choice. We can have any color car, as Henry Ford once stated, as long as it's black. I think the bottom line is that we have a choice. The fascinating thing is the question really should be asked, if we get into war ahead of the election, will there be a war? And, will there be election if we square up with Russia? If Russia is concerned with McCain versus Obama, then obviously things could escalate. And I don't think people are informed to the point of recognizing what presidential decision directives and executive orders exist to handle that ramification. In other words, we could have it suspended.
Keep us abreast of your personal situation, will you, my friend?
I will. Thank you, George.
There he is, Steve Quayle. Always brings us some fascinating information, even though in most cases it scares the daylights out of you. Stephen Quayle, his website, linked up at coasttocoastam.com. There you go. Well, for Karis Colburn, Dan Galante, Tom Danheiser, Lisa Lyon, Lex Lonehood, Sean Ladesseur, Ross Mitchell, George Knapp, Ian Punnett, and Art Bell, I'm George Norrie, somewhere out there on Coast to Coast AM. We'll see you on our next edition. Until then, be safe, everyone.